Hey everyone, welcome back to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
I'm Fuego
Here to finally conclude our review series for the Chucky movies. At least up until now, as we're recording this in June of 2019, we are about to go watch, well not about, but this next week we're going to go see the new Child's Play reboot. So we're excited about that. We wanted to get all the reviews of the original movies up. We did review this once before on the channel, but first off, we did it remotely, and it was before I knew what I was doing, so the audio was garbage. Plus, there's someone else on the review that's garbage too, so I'm going to get rid of that entirely.
Peace out.
So we're going to put this up instead. This is our new review of Cult of Chucky. This one is also written and directed by Don Mancini. It is connecting, or at least continuing the storyline brought up in Curse.
Trying to.
That attempted to bridge the overall sort of Child's Play universe, and not so successfully. Now, when I first saw this movie, I really didn't like it that much. Upon this rewatch, to give my overall thoughts, I enjoyed it a little bit more. Not much more, because it's still a lot of stupid, but I did actually appreciate what they were trying to do at times a little bit more than I did the first time, but I do still think that the cult idea is really dumb, and it's based in that whole voodoo for dummies stupidness that they started in Bride. Except now it's even worse because they don't even need the amulet anymore. So like the lore just gets dumber and dumber. But the movie itself is kind of fun. I mean, it's the Nightmare 3 where the whole thing takes place in a mental institution. So there are aspects that I like, but there are aspects that I don't like as well. So overall, it's a medium, middle of the road Chucky movie. I still like it better than Seed. I don't like it as good as Curse. Maybe about the same level as Bride. I don't know. I might like Bride a little bit more, but I don't know. Fuego, your overall thoughts?
Yeah, this was definitely them going more so back to the tone of Bride and Seed and just being kind of like, okay, we're not going to take ourselves quite as seriously because the concept is nonsensical and really stupid, and I don't even feel like they explain it very well even in the film. You know, it's just kind of frustrating and aggravating in the fact that you have one Chucky and then I'm guessing as I try to wrap my head around it, it was, you know, Tiffany trying to bring, you know, stuff back, and that's how, you know, inevitably we end up with some of the other incarnations. But it has some cool kills. It has some... This movie is best, in my estimation, where it's tying into the lore of those earlier movies. Really. I mean, when they bring back Andy and the stuff with him is
that's
really
the thing. They brought back Andy in the post-credits scene of Curse of Chucky. Yeah. So Andy shows up at the end. Chucky sends himself to Andy, which I don't know why, if he can transfer his soul with just an amulet now. But he decides to do it anyway. And at the end, it appears that Andy blows his head off. Based on what we get, but it cuts to black as you hear the gunshot. Turns out, I was worried they were going to renege on that, but it turns out they didn't, and that Andy is keeping Chucky's half blown off head on a pike and just, you know, taking his stress out on a regular basis by torturing the Chucky doll.
Yeah, burning him and all kinds of other crazy stuff after coming back from a bad date, which I must say, the acting in that scene of the date at the very beginning is very... It's pretty brutal, man.
It's a little bit rough.
It's tough.
Alex
to watch,
Vincent reprising his role, same guy that played the kid when he was a kid in the late '80s and stuff. So yeah, it's fun continuity wise. That's what I like about this one the most.
Same, and that's what I find the most enjoyment out of it is where it ties in with those earlier entries. But yet it also is a sequel to a movie that I wasn't the biggest fan of, being in Curse, and the new mythology that they set down with that. This might be, in my estimation, the worst look for Chucky that we've had in any of the films, which is a real bummer.
Terrible.
Yeah, he looks really bad, including except for the head that we have at the very beginning, which the calf head is blown off and stuff. That actually looks cool, but everything else, I mean, the actual dolls that we get, and the acting is really hammy. I don't think Fiona does as good of a job in this one as she did in the previous one, but it's the way she's scripted, so it's like how can that not be the case? And so, yeah, overall, there's pros and cons to the last four after the original trilogy, and I find some merit in this, but I don't like it quite as much as I did before. It's funny how, you know, this and Curse, they both kind of were like this before, and now they both kind of gone like this, and I enjoy things in each one but for different reasons, I guess. So.
No, I agree with you on that. So let's get into the story. So the story picks up where the last one left off.
Immediate.
Fiona has been accused of the murders from from Curse of Chucky because no one believes that Chucky is alive. So she's sent to a mental institution because she maintains this is basically the Karen Barkley story if it had followed Karen Barkley after the first movie, where she was sent for psychiatric evaluation and presumably committed. That's what happens with Fiona Dorff's character. And because, she blames the Chucky doll, no one believes her. She's sent to this mental institution, and Chucky ends up tracking her down. And but meanwhile, he's also dealing with Andy as a head on a pike. So something is off from the very beginning on this movie, but it takes a while to reveal that it turns out that Chucky is now a multiple man, where he learns on voodooForDummies.com, they even say. Like, oh my God, I hate it. Yeah. I hate the Voodoo for Dummies thing, and I hate that they made it a website in order to excuse writing bullshit in these last two movies. But nonetheless, he now apparently can transfer his soul into multiple bodies, or at least his essence and his mind, so that now he can inhabit multiple dolls at the same time.
But there's still a master mind of sorts, as they kind of imply once one transference happens at the very end of the movie, which is just... There's a lot of illogicality. This is where they just... whereas Seed was stupid with its lore and some of the changes, and that is the one thing where, even though I like this better than Seed, I feel like they threw every essence of logic out the door. They're like, continuity, schmontinuity, who the hell cares, man?
I agree with you on this one.
This does not have to make sense, and it doesn't make any goddamn sense. You have to really pick it apart to just think, well, okay, maybe, Tiff helped out with this, and maybe did an initial transference to this, and then multiple transferences into all these other dolls that we get over the course of the film, and it's I don't know.
It's a convoluted mess throughout the movie.
That's the best word to describe it, actually. It becomes insanely convoluted, more so than at any time before in the mythology and just the lore and the story of this series, man.
It's terrible, and it's got that surprise ending, which, spoilers, I guess, a warning, but, eventually Chucky makes his way into a human, finally. So that's...
Good tip.
Yeah. Oh, my God, with Fiona doing the worst goddamn accent.
Accent.
The accent is so bad. Oh, but nonetheless, they did something different. Now, so it was a story of Fiona trying to convince other mentally incapacitated people in this asylum that she's telling the truth. All of them think that she's just a crazy bitch, including an Asian actress who is really fun in her part, especially when she's about to throw Chucky down a trash chute and something happens. I liked that scene. She's like, oh my God, it's real. Like, no, you don't understand, it's real. And like, no one believes her. Like, I like the progression of people thinking it's real. The problem is then they have to lean on the quote-unquote creativity of past movies with the kill of this lady. Where it's just a rip-off of a Bride of Chucky kill.
Yeah, it was like, people were upset about the callbacks in Star Wars Force Awakens. This is much the same sort of thing, where it's like, why do we need a recreation of that scene in, it's that...
And there's another kill that doesn't even make sense, involving an arm reaching somewhere that you normally wouldn't expect.
But yet, once again, in the third act, just like in Curse, there's some solid kills in the
third act. It's okay.
Yeah, there's some good kills. So, I don't know. The one interesting plot point here is the fact that Fiona Dorff, what is her name in this? I'm trying to remember.
I can't remember.
It's Nita.
Anyway,
Nika. Yeah,
right.
That's right. Yeah, so Nika has not only been institutionalized, but she's been convinced that she committed all of those murders of the surviving daughter who somehow ended up in the care of Tiffany for whatever weird reason.
Who's killed off screen, like, spoilers, like, it's unceremonious. Like, it's like Dawn, they nuded her. No. You know what I mean? They literally nuded her. You know what I mean? It's so bad. Yeah. That is such a bummer, because I kind of like that. Like, that's how it ends. The curse ends with Chucky transferring his soul into this little girl, and then we don't even get to see the fun that they freaking allude to in Cult. They're like, oh yeah, being a little girl was fun. The problem with being a little girl is you can get hurt really easily.
Yeah.
And so apparently Chucky was trying to be Chucky as a little girl, but he gets killed as a little girl, and we don't get to see that.
Yeah.
Like, that would be an interesting thing to show. Like, where's
Agreed.
the hidden comic book there? You know what I mean? Like, it's scripting that I don't understand. I don't get why Mancini was making the choices he was making. It just feels like he was just trying to make a movie, and logic be damned. You know what I mean? Like, you can make a good Chucky movie within the lore you've established. You don't have to chuck the baby out with the bathwater every goddamn movie.
Yeah, and the logic be damned is very much on display here. As far as, like, acting goes, whereas I gave Dourif's daughter a lot of credit in the last one, she doesn't particularly wow me in this, man.
No.
In fact, and once again...
But it is the material
it is the way
given.
that she's written. There's... Really, I mean, Vincent has a couple decent scenes, you know, whereas I didn't think he was very good at the beginning, you know, on this date with this girl, and he felt very wooden and just kind of weird, but maybe that's how you would be on a date when you're worried somebody's Googled you and could know about your past and all the other things, but, I mean, his back and forth with Chucky and the few scenes that he has, that there's the one early on with the head, and then there's another one later on when he shows up at the Institute. I think those are fairly strong. He's not too bad, but
They need to just refocus on Andy and Kyle again, because there is a nice post-credit scene.
Another post-credit.
Loved it because the Chucky head is still alive and kicking at Andy's home, and apparently someone shows up at the very end who got a call, and it turns out it's Kyle, once again played by Christina Elise.
Who we met.
We met,
little haunted house
a couple times. We met her. And then we saw her again when we went out to the movie premiere for Hanukkah. So, Christine's an awesome lady, and she comes back as her character Kyle from Child's Play 2 in order to start torturing Chucky. So I was super happy to see her. So that's one of the shining spots that I'm excited about for the TV series. As long as he focuses on Alex Vincent and Christina Elise, I'll be really happy with the TV series.
Yeah, it makes me
assuming he doesn't fuck it up.
It makes me wonder if Nika's going to be actually in it or not, or if that is the plan.
She has to be.
I mean, she has to be.
She and Tiff have to be.
Since that's where well, spoilers, that's who he ends up in.
Yeah, exactly. Chucky transfers his soul into Fiona, so now he's in her body.
Yeah.
Creepy.
Yeah. I mean, as far as effects and stuff, and it does feel a little bit bigger budget than the previous one. Which the previous one was successful.
Way gorier too. Like, there's a
agreed.
lot of cool gore in this. We watched the unrated version, and I mean, one Chucky gets his head stomped out, and there's gore everywhere, and I love that scene. Like, there's a lot of cool gore. There's a drill through the head that looks really good.
Is good as well. Another face that gets stomped in from. And that guy, you know, he was actually delightfully creepy. He was actually effective. He's like, why do I always fall for the crazy ones? And you're like, in your profession?
Leads to some of the best Chucky lines in the movie, where he's like, I can't even with this guy. I don't know whether to kill him or to take notes. Yeah. So there was a couple of fun lines, and it's nice that Brad Dourif got more, you know, line work in this one than he did in Curse because of the sheer amount of Chuckies that there were. But you know, it's still just okay.
It's a weird movie.
There's still some course correcting needed to be made.
Exactly, and you know what? Hey, maybe they will do that. And it's just so strange that concurrently we're gonna have the reboot and the original series.
Dude, I guarantee that reboot's gonna make money.
And they said there's gonna be more films too.
By the time this episode goes up, we're either gonna be putting the new review up the same night or the next day. So I'm excited as hell to see that remake, man. We'll see. Hopefully it doesn't disappoint. So
yeah, well, I'm looking forward to it at this point after revisiting all this material with you, including comic book, you know, little side stories and all
3
kinds
different
of stuff.
and actually there'll be a 4th part of the Child's Play comics that we've been reviewing. So 3 parts should be up by now. Guys, thank you very much for watching. If you've been watching the entire Child's Play review series, we greatly appreciate it.
Totally do.
Thank you very much. If you enjoyed the video, click that like button and subscribe if you haven't yet, if you want to make sure you don't miss things going forward. If you really enjoyed it and you want to join our Patreon, the link to that is in the description box. You can actually pick movies for us to review on a regular basis. You can decide the content. So thank you guys very much for watching. I've been Cecil Laird.
Gracias up in Jaime and Fuego.
And remember, stay scared.